From Linda's outbursts
My family is in the worst mess. Brooke doesn't talk to us.
to Brooke's revelations,
Our family's been through a lot of crap, and I will say my dad.
Hulk Hogan's family has always been torn apart, but who's really to blame? According to Brooke, it's Vince McMahon. She just made some explosive claims in court, and what she revealed might be enough to destroy Vince McMahon's legacy for good. Let me break it down. The breaking point.
I have to be honest about what I went through in my marriage with Terry as Hulk Hogan and what it entailed and what it has caused over the years and everything else. He's a complete liar. He is a sex addict. Your face out there and know that all these horrible things are going on behind the scenes.
For years, wrestling fans witnessed what appeared to be the perfect father-daughter relationship through the lens of reality television. Hogan Knows Best showcased a seemingly tight-knit family, with Hulk Hogan playing the overprotective father to his daughter Brooke and son Nick. But behind the cameras, a different story was unfolding, one of alleged abuse, manipulation, and betrayals that would ultimately tear this famous family apart.
I miss my dad, so it's time.
The facade began to crumble when Hulk Hogan passed away on July 24, 2025, at age 71 due to cardiac arrest. What should have been a time of mourning and family unity instead became the moment when the darkest secrets of the Hogan family came to light. Brooke Hogan, age 37, had previously requested to be removed from his will in 2023, a decision that shocked the wrestling world and raised questions about what could have driven a daughter to such desperate measures. The reasons behind this shocking decision weren't immediately clear, but sources close to the family began painting a picture that was far more sinister than anyone had imagined. Multiple sources, including TMZ and Daily Mail, indicate that Brooke's decision was not driven by hatred, but by her lack of trust in her father's inner circle. She reportedly believed that some individuals were taking advantage of Hulk Hogan, and she wanted to avoid being dragged into financial disputes after his death. But the story goes much deeper than financial concerns. In a bombshell revelation that has sent shockwaves through the wrestling community, Brooke publicly stated she experienced extreme verbal and mental abuse from both her father, Hulk Hogan, and her mother, Linda Hogan, since childhood, with some instances turning physical. This wasn't just typical family dysfunction. This was systematic abuse that had been hidden behind the veneer of wrestling royalty for decades.
Our family's been through a lot of crap, and I will say my dad, despite, it's hard to, have all your skeletons, pulled out of your closet and just waved in front of everybody's face and humiliated the world. And
stories of abuse and exploitation have long plagued the wrestling industry, but when it involves one of its biggest stars and his own family, the implications become staggering. Brooke mentioned having completely separate reasons for going no contact with each parent, indicating that the abuse wasn't limited to one parent, but extended to both sides of her family structure. The timeline of this family's destruction is both heartbreaking and revealing. By 2023, she was estranged, not attending his wedding and later explaining on Instagram that she needed distance for healing and happiness. This wasn't a temporary falling out or typical family disagreement. This was a daughter making the devastating decision to cut ties with her father permanently, knowing full well the public scrutiny and personal cost it would entail. What makes this story even more tragic is the context in which it's unfolding. After Hulk's death in 2025, she acknowledged their bond but noted she'd stepped away in the last 2 years, suggesting lasting impact. Here was a daughter who, despite everything she had endured, still felt compelled to acknowledge her father's death, even while maintaining the boundaries she had established for her own protection. The financial implications of Brooke's decision are staggering. While Brooke asked to be removed from Hulk Hogan's estate, which was valued at around $25 million, she is still expected to receive a small amount from a life insurance trust. This financial arrangement further indicates that her decision was not about rejecting her father outright, but about avoiding potential conflicts and protecting herself from what she saw as a toxic environment. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of this story is what it tells us about the wrestling industry itself. For decades, fans have celebrated Hulk Hogan as the ultimate family man, the all-American hero who represented the best of what wrestling could be. The reality TV shows, the public appearances, the carefully crafted image, all of it was built on a foundation that was apparently crumbling behind closed doors.
I will say, just in general, I think when you're in the position that we're in, it happens, it still happens. People think that it's something else. And that's the thing that I think is so misconstrued or misunderstood about fame, right? Is that they think immediately if you're famous, you must be rich, or immediately if you're a daughter of somebody that you just have it easy. Or if you have all these cars and houses, you know, that's just, oh, it must be nice. I'm like, hey, I can't help that my parents picked that, you know, but all I remember is it was a pain in the butt to upkeep, and I would never, you know.
The wrestling world has always been built on the blurring of reality and fiction, but when that blurring extends to covering up real abuse and family destruction, it raises serious questions about the industry's responsibility to protect not just its performers, but their families as well. Her statements about abuse and the need to protect her well-being indicate these events were part of a larger pattern, leading to their estrangement. As we dive deeper into this story, we'll explore how the demands of the wrestling business, particularly under Vince McMahon's WWE empire, may have contributed to the destruction of this family. We'll examine the specific incidents and scandals that drove wedges between father and daughter, and we'll uncover the shocking truth about how the wrestling industry's biggest names may have failed to protect one of their own. How WWE's demands destroyed a family. To understand the full scope of this tragedy, we need to examine how Hulk Hogan's wrestling career, particularly under McMahon's influence, created an environment that made healthy family relationships nearly impossible. Hulk Hogan's wrestling career required frequent travel and public scrutiny, which likely impacted his family life. But it wasn't just the travel schedule that proved destructive. It was the entire culture and mindset that the wrestling business demanded.
How was that for you growing up having such a famous father?
You know what's crazy? He did a really good job not letting us feel like that was like that. It wasn't like the reality that we had that, oh my God, we have this famous dad. I mean,
the first major red flag came through the family's reality show, Hogan Knows Best, which was supposed to showcase their ideal family life, but instead revealed deeply troubling dynamics. His overprotective behavior, shown in Hogan Knows Best, included actions like placing a GPS tracker on Brooke's car, causing tension. This wasn't normal parental concern. This was controlling behavior that reflected the paranoid, high-pressure environment that wrestling stardom had created. But the real destruction began when Vince McMahon and WWE started involving Brooke directly in their programming. In 2006, Brooke made her WWE debut on Saturday night's main event, Betrayals 3, accompanying her father to the ring. During the show, Randy Orton flirted with her, leading to a match between Orton and Hogan at SummerSlam. This storyline, which involved a young woman being used as a romantic plot device for adult male wrestlers, raises serious questions about WWE's decision-making and Vince McMahon's role in approving such content. This storyline, likely approved by McMahon as head of creative, involved Brooke in a public wrestling narrative, which may have made her uncomfortable or felt like an exploitation of her personal life. The fact that WWE was willing to use Hogan's teenage daughter as a romantic interest for their adult male performers reveals the extent to which the company was willing to exploit family relationships for entertainment value. The pressure of maintaining his WWE career while dealing with family issues created a perfect storm of dysfunction. Hogan's testimony in McMahon's 1994 steroid trial, where he admitted to using steroids since 1976 but cleared McMahon, could have added family stress, potentially affecting his relationship with Brooke. The legal and professional pressures that McMahon's empire created didn't just affect Hogan's career, they rippled through his entire family structure.
We counted how many surgeries he's had in the last 10 years, and I think we're at 25.
Oh, God.
So he's had both shoulders scoped, and he had his whole bicep and his bursac and his everything tied up in his shoulder like last year. That was a disaster. He got MRSA, and it was like a big thing, so we had to go back and undo it. Tons of physical therapy. He's had both of his knees replaced multiple times, I think twice on both. He's had his hips done. He's had his elbows scoped. He's had so many surgeries.
The physical toll of wrestling under McMahon's demanding schedule created additional family stress. Hulk Hogan has undergone 25 surgeries in the last 10 years, including shoulder surgeries, knee replacements, hip replacements, and back surgeries. This level of physical destruction wasn't just about entertainment. It was about a business model that literally consumed its performers, leaving their families to deal with the emotional and practical consequences. But perhaps the most damaging aspect of the McMahon-Hogan relationship was how it handled Hogan's various scandals. When Hogan's 2015 racist remarks involving Brooke's dating life were revealed, leading to his WWE contract termination, McMahon's response was swift and brutal. In 2015, following the racist scandal, WWE, under McMahon's leadership, terminated Hogan's contract and removed all mentions of him from WWE platforms and e-commerce websites that sell WWE merchandise. This termination could have been perceived as particularly harsh because the scandal directly involved Brooke. The 2015 racial slur incident, where Hogan used the N-word while discussing Brooke's dating life, was especially hurtful, as it directly involved her personal relationships and led to widespread backlash. If Brooke felt that McMahon's actions were too severe or lacked empathy for her family's situation, this could be a reason for her to hold a grudge against the WWE chairman. The leaked audio revealed Hogan making racist comments about Brooke's dating choices, saying things like he expressed discomfort about her dating a black man, stating, "I mean, I'd rather if she was going to fuck some, I'd rather have her marry an 8-foot-tall worth $100 million, like a basketball player." These weren't just racist comments. They were deeply personal attacks on his own daughter's autonomy and relationships, broadcast to the world through a scandal that destroyed his career.
It's hard, and you know, everybody was like, oh, Brooke stands by her dad and this and that, and it's like, first of all, that's who I am. I'm loyal. Like, if you're honest with me, it doesn't matter. I will love you. I will stand up for you till the end. You know, I think that people can have differing opinions, right? Like, I'm not God. I can't judge.
Initially, Brooke defended her father during the racial slur scandal, sharing a poem in 2015 to insist he wasn't racist. But over time, the cumulative effect of these public humiliations and family betrayals took their toll. Over time, she distanced herself, not attending his 2023 wedding and explaining on Instagram that she needed distance for healing and happiness. The pattern that emerges is clear. Vince McMahon's WWE created and maintained a business environment that prioritized entertainment value over human welfare, even when it came to the families of their biggest stars. The demands of maintaining Hogan's character, the pressure to generate controversial storylines, and the ultimate abandonment when those storylines backfired all contributed to the systematic destruction of the Hogan family unit. McMahon's relationship with Hogan was deeply professional, with McMahon expanding WWF into mainstream pop culture, making Hogan a global superstar. However, the demands of Hogan's career, including frequent appearances and storylines, may have contributed to the family's dysfunction. The success came at a price that wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal, affecting every member of the Hogan family.
First of all, when we were going through all of our stuff, that money was so tied up in lawsuits and divorces and just all kinds of crazy stuff that there was no way that it was like, hey, can I have a, you know, it's like they are literally checking bank statements and pay stubs from, you know, WWE like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like it's crazy. So, you know, and on top of it, I have pride. Like, I think, you know, maybe because I set off on my own. I was like, first of all, there was so much drama back home that I was like, I cannot wait to move out. So like right when I turned 18, I went and I got an apartment at the Flamingo in Miami.
The financial implications of this relationship also created additional family stress. When Hogan needed McMahon's support most, during his legal battles and personal scandals, the business relationship proved to be more important than any personal loyalty. This pattern of exploitation and abandonment seems to have convinced Brooke that the wrestling business, and by extension those who controlled it, could never be trusted with her family's welfare. When business destroyed blood, the most devastating blow to the Hogan family came not from any wrestling storyline, but from a betrayal that struck at the very heart of their personal relationships. Hulk Hogan's affair with Christiane Plant came to light in early 2008 when Plant, then 33, confessed to the National Enquirer that she had a romantic relationship with Hogan. But this wasn't just any affair. Plant worked with Brooke on her 2006 album and was considered one of Brooke's best friends. The impact on Brooke was immediate and devastating. In March 2008, she posted on her MySpace blog stating, "When your best friend and one of your closest family members that you have loved unconditionally since your first day on this earth betray you together, you could maybe find it in yourself to forgive one day, but you will never forget the hurt they caused you." This wasn't just typical teenage drama. This was a profound betrayal that would shape Brooke's relationship with her father for the rest of his life.
So funny, by the way, your mom, it was a tight spot at the bar, and your mom pointed you out to me, like, "Hey, Brooke, what about this guy?" And he looked looked at me, he looked me up and down, then just kept walking.
The affair wasn't just a momentary lapse in judgment. It was part of a pattern of behavior that showed how Hogan's involvement in the wrestling business had corrupted his ability to maintain healthy family relationships. The affair was a major factor in Hulk and Linda's divorce, as confirmed by Linda's representative to E! News in 2008, stating, "When Linda discovered Hulk had an affair with Brooke's best friend, Christiane Plant, she made the decision to call it quits on the marriage." But the betrayals didn't stop there. The most shocking scandal involving the Hogan family came through a sex tape that was recorded without Hogan's knowledge and later released by Gawker Media. The sex tape, recorded in 2007 without his consent and later released by Gawker Media, featured Hogan with Heather Clem, the wife of his friend Bubba the Love Sponge. But what made this scandal even more devastating for Brooke was what was revealed in the audio portion of that tape.
It was probably the worst day of my life when I said that 8 years ago. I'd bottomed out. I was having some problems with the marriage and financially and the kids, of course. And I was kind of mad at my daughter, and there was a weird situation where I said what I said. Never should have said it, even though it was in a private setting. I've apologized over and over and over for it. Truly sorry. But the weirdest thing is, so many people know who I am, such as all my friends, all the wrestling fans. And when this came out, they went, "What? Did someone drop him on his head? What's wrong with this guy? That's not the guy we know." And it's exactly what that was. It was a glitch. It was a huge mistake.
A leaked audio from the same tape revealed Hogan using racial slurs, including the N-word, in a conversation about his daughter Brooke's dating life. The specific comments were not just racist, they were deeply personal attacks on Brooke's autonomy and relationships. He expressed discomfort about her dating a black man, stating, I'd rather if she was going to case some N'Gur, I'd rather have her marry an 8-foot-tall N'Gur worth $100 million, like a basketball player." The public humiliation this caused for Brooke cannot be overstated. This public exposure likely contributed to her feeling betrayed and humiliated, as seen in her later statements about abuse and estrangement. Here was a young woman whose private relationships and personal life had been dragged through the mud by her own father's recorded comments, broadcast to the world through a scandal that destroyed his career, but also devastated her personally.
You made some comments about your daughter dating a black man.
Yes, I did.
And you also used the N-word several times and even called yourself a racist. What do you have to say about that?
Probably the stupidest thing I've ever said.
The wrestling industry's response to these scandals reveals how the business prioritized damage control over family protection. WE, under McMahon's leadership, terminated Hogan's contract and removed all mentions of him from their enterprise. But there was no apparent effort to support or protect Brooke from the fallout of her father's actions. The pattern of exploitation continued even during family crises. The sex tape itself did not directly involve Brooke. Its release added to the family's public scrutiny, potentially exacerbating existing tensions. Hogan's legal battles and public apologies might have placed additional pressure on Brooke, who was already navigating her own career and personal life in the public eye. The cumulative effect of these betrayals, scandals, and public humiliations finally drove Brooke to make the most difficult decision of her life. Her Instagram post on July 29, 2025 mentioned respectful disagreements in his final years, often about his health and circle, indicating the scandals were part of a larger pattern of behavior that strained their bond. But perhaps the most telling revelation comes from understanding what Brooke discovered about the people surrounding her father. While Brooke did not publicly name specific individuals in her statements, insights from Bubba the Love Sponge, Hulk Hogan's former best friend, provide a list of individuals who were part of Hogan's inner circle. These included Sky Daly, Hogan's wife, married in September 2023, Brian Blair, a longtime friend and former wrestler, Jimmy Hart, a wrestling manager and close associate, Eric Bischoff, a former WCW executive and friend, and Missy Beefcake, wife of Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Brooke's concerns were reportedly rooted in years of disagreements with her father over who he allowed into his personal and financial life. Her husband, Stephen Oleksy, also provided insight into her emotional state, stating that she was sobbing and texting his financial manager because of the hurt that remained consistent in their relationship. The final piece of this tragic puzzle comes from understanding how the wrestling business created an environment where these patterns could flourish unchecked. The evidence leans toward Brooke's concerns being about financial and health-related exploitation. Reports suggest she feared being entangled in financial disputes after his death, indicating that the wrestling industry's culture of exploitation had infected even the most intimate family relationships.
And I didn't want to ask my dad. He's been through so much crap already that the last thing he needs is a kid that's like, "Hey, can I have, the credit card?" It's like, I don't love him for that.
In the end, the leaked sex tape and racial slur scandals strained Hulk Hogan's relationship with Brooke, likely due to public humiliation and personal hurt, especially from the racial slur incident involving her dating life. The evidence leans toward the scandals exacerbating existing issues, contributing to their estrangement, as seen in her statements about abuse and need for healing. The story of Brooke Hogan's decision to remove herself from her father's will and cut contact with him isn't just about one family's dysfunction. It's about an entire industry that has systematically prioritized entertainment value over human welfare. From Vince McMahon's exploitation of family relationships for storylines to the culture of scandal and betrayal that permeates the wrestling business, the destruction of the Hogan family serves as a stark warning about the true cost of sports entertainment. After Hogan's death, she posted on July 29, 2025, acknowledging their deep bond, but noting she had stepped away in the last 2 years to protect her heart, suggesting lasting impact. In her own words, she stated, "My dad's blood runs through my veins. His eyes shine through my children, and our bond has never broken, not even in his final moments," but also mentioned stepping away to protect herself, showing that even love couldn't overcome the damage that had been done. The wrestling world will remember Hulk Hogan as one of its greatest stars, but the price of that stardom was the destruction of his relationship with his daughter, a price that was paid not just by Hogan himself, but by an entire family that became collateral damage in the pursuit of sports entertainment glory. If you enjoyed watching this video, check out our other awesome videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.